This is Matthew Loomis with BuildYourOwnBlog.net, and this is the first of my Power Lunch interview series where I'll be talking with successful bloggers. My first Power Lunch interview here is with a guy named Les Dossey. Les is the CEO of Les Dossey Group. He's a coach, a speaker, and a consultant. And I wanted to catch up with Les. He was in town. We've known each other for a while now on Google+. We've done some work together. And I finally got to meet him in person. And after we caught up, and had some delicious lunch over at the Blue City Deli, we sat down and he was gracious enough to answer some questions that I had for him that I know you're going to want to listen to. Because Les is a successful blogger. He has a blog and he uses his blog to promote his business, his coaching and consulting business. He's an excellent writer as well. He knows what it takes to produce good quality content, and he knows how to use social media to share that content and promote his blog and to get readers to his blog. So we sat down together and I asked him some questions on blogging and online business and how to keep your motivation up, how to keep going, and how to build a blog from zero to lots and lots of readers. Something else that Les is an expert at is overcoming the mental hurdles that so many bloggers face, especially the new ones just starting out. The self-doubt, the fear of what other people will think, or am I doing this right? I don't want to look silly. All those fears that hold back bloggers, especially the new blogger. Les is an expert. He is a personal coach that helps people overcome obstacles. Les helps people get unstuck. And so you're really going to want to listen to what he has to say here, especially if you're a new blogger facing some fears and some challenges that you need to break through. So here it is, my Power Lunch with Les Dossey. Hope you enjoy it. See you in the comments. Okay, so I'm here having lunch with Les Dossey. And Les, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself, your background, and your blogging experience.
Myself, my background, and my blogging experience. All right, so my name's Les Dossey. I am a coach, consultant, and speaker. I'm here in St. Louis this week speaking to a financial group down at the Chauvenet Winery. And that's my primary job. Secondary to that is I love to write. So I blog. I've written a couple of books, none that I've published yet. I am in the process of writing one to publish before year's end. It's called Selling Success, and it's actually for a client. So it won't be made public, it'll be private. And then next year I plan on writing 12 ebooks that'll be specifically for and targeted to my ideal client. I started blogging back in, I guess, 2008.
Okay.
And the reason why I made the move was because I saw that traditional marketing wasn't as effective as it had been. And I think it was after the third Yellow Page advertising person called on me and asked me to give him more of my money.
Okay.
And I went, wait a minute. More and more people are moving online. They're using Google search or some form of search to find what they're looking for. And I can either figure out how to position myself online, or I continue throwing dollars away using these old dated methods of marketing. And so at great risk and with a little bit of trepidation, I made the decision to leave behind the old and embrace the new, and I've never looked back.
Awesome. So give us a quick overview of lesdossey.com and the Advisor's Path website that you have.
I'd be glad to. Well, I have actually have 3 websites.
Oh, okay.
And I would like to say that there's a real strategic reason for that, but there's not. It was more a way of testing what worked and what didn't work, to see where I would get traction and where I wouldn't get traction. And so I created lesdossey.com first because that's my name. That's the DBA that I do business under.
Right.
And then I started thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to try and market or position myself differently. So I created another blog called IamLess.com.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was catchy. I figured it would pair well with the I Am movement that was sweeping across the country.
Oh, yeah.
It's still strong all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And after testing it for a while, I decided that I'd come back to and give all of my attention to LessDossey.com.
Okay.
That's who I am. It's what I do. Even as a growing organization, Les Dossey Group, the LessDossey.com website's ideal for that branding.
Okay.
And then under the LessDossey.com, I'm doing, and I have done, Google Hangouts, which is a form of video type interviews and or content that's produced in a video nature.
Right.
And had great results there. It actually took me international using
Yeah.
Google Hangouts. So I picked up my first client
Okay.
in Holland, actually,
Okay.
from Google Hangouts. But the thing that I noticed as a result of the test that I was doing was that it wasn't bringing me the kind of client that I wanted to do business with. And so I backed away from that and considered that a successful test,
Right.
and then moved on to something else. And that's when theadvisorspath.com emerged. I, from doing a little research and asking some good questions, I found out that most of my clients, which by the way are professionals, so lawyers, financial advisors, consultants, CEOs, don't have a lot of time to sit down at a computer and queue up a YouTube video, but they can listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
And so I started the Advisor's Path with the intent of producing a regular daily podcast.
Okay.
And I successfully launched it. I was doing the podcast for every single day for about a month and a half. And I found out that although it was successful, it was not something that I felt internally I wanted to maintain, at least not that regimented every single day.
Right.
And so I backed off from that, and I'm re-looking at how to do that in the most effective way, kind of applying the 80-20 principle to it, right?
Yeah. Right.
What can I do the minimal amount of and get the most results?
Right.
And so that's how I'm looking at the Advisor's Path now, and incorporating podcasting with my blog, LessDossey.com. So, there's a whole lot of testing going on to figure out what will get me the kind of clients that I'm looking to do business with.
Awesome. So, obviously blogging has helped your business a lot.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people watching this video are, interested in blogging for their business or, for their personal cause or just for fun, however they, whatever their vision is for their blog. But there's something out there called fear, and many folks have a fear about blogging. Things like, will it succeed? Will I succeed? Do I know what I'm doing? This is new to me. Will I look silly? So, if someone came to you that was struggling with those fears of blogging, as a coach, someone that helps people overcome their fears, how would you help them, or what advice would you give them?
Well, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fear myself. Prior to blogging, the only form of writing that I did was either in the form of a journal, or having written a book, pen and paper, but preserved it for myself, for my own viewing, for my own purposes.
Right.
And so, moving to a blogging platform and then publishing something for everybody to see was a bit scary. The way I overcame it was I focused on the effect that blogging was having on me, and took my focus away from what others might think about what I was putting out there, what I was publishing. And what I mean by that is writing is like a salve that lubricates the mind and frees it of fears, for instance.
Right.
And it heals places in the heart that you didn't even know were damaged, didn't even know were hurt.
Wow.
And so, I just persevered. I was like, this is good for me. And as long as it's good for me, I'm going to continue doing it. I don't care if I get a single piece of business from it.
Okay.
Because what I discovered was that as a result of writing, I became more convicted about what my beliefs were,
Yeah.
and being more convicted about what your beliefs are make you more resolute,
Yep.
and being more resolute eliminates a lot of the the mutual mystification, the muddy water, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so my path became very clear to me. So
Wow.
when the path is clear, it's easy to know where you are at any given time,
Right.
and it eliminates all those questions. Am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right path? Am I,
Mm-hmm.
is this what I really want to do? I
Right.
have no doubt. Every morning when I wake up at 3:30, quarter to 4, by the way, which is a huge shift from what I used to do.
Yeah.
I do so with passion and with anticipation and with excitement because I know exactly who I am. I know exactly what I'm called to do, and I enjoy doing it.
Are you one of those people that only needs 3 to 4 hours of sleep per night?
But there are times when I'm working on a project
Yeah.
that works fine. If the passion level is really, really high,
Mm-hmm.
I find it very difficult to sleep. If I'm just going through, and this sounds kind of trite because I never just go through the motions, but if I'm in a routine where I'm just kind of going through the motions,
Yeah.
then I find I need more sleep.
Right.
But I still get up early because I find that time of the day is the most creative time for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get a lot done between the hours of 3:30, 4 o'clock till everybody else wakes up.
Yeah.
I can crush it. In other words.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of bloggers will blog like 4 or 5 a.m. before the kids wake up,
Exactly.
before their spouse wakes up, before they have to go to work,
Exactly.
things like that. Yeah. So Les, you have a quality blog yourself, and you understand what it takes to produce quality content, and being consistent with your blog, producing content on a regular basis. So how do you stay motivated each day to do that?
Well, I mean, I think you sent me that question in advance, and I was like, that's the only question I'm gonna have a hard time answering probably out of all the questions that you sent me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way that you stay motivated is you got to find out what those internal drivers are.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you're supposed to be here doing? What's the contribution you're supposed to be making? If you figure that out, then you don't have to motivate yourself because that pulls you. It's like a magnet. And so for me, I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I don't have to use an alarm clock to get out of bed in the morning. It doesn't even enter my mind. And Monday through Sunday is just, each one's another day.
Right.
And I mean that in the best of ways. I enjoy getting up and doing what I do. So to answer your question, find out what you're really passionate about and just go at it wholeheartedly.
So once a blogger finds their niche, their passion, these things are much easier. Is that what you're saying? It comes to you?
Very much easier. Anything that you want that's worth having is going to require you to endure some pain.
Yeah.
And it's like, growth requires change. Change is going to produce some form of pain. Pain is going to cause you to suffer, and suffering is going to cause you to enter the stages of grief. That's just the way it is.
Right.
You're not going to get from here to some next level of success unless you're willing to endure that.
Yeah.
And so, the answer to your question is if you find your passion in whatever it is that you're doing, then, the obstacles and the barriers that present themselves to everybody who's pursuing something don't mean anything to you. They kind of vaporize. They kind of disappear when you get close to them.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like if I look out and ask what if this and what if that, I can see a million things between me and there.
Right.
Right? I find that's a very ineffective use of my time. If I just say, this is where I'm supposed to go, and let me begin moving in that direction and take the next step,
Right.
and then take the next step, and then take the next step, whatever that is,
Right.
those things that I see between me and there get smaller and smaller and smaller the more steps I take, until what I found out is that all those things I imagined might stop me were just that, my imagination, and nothing more.
Wow.
So I think to help sort of zero in on what somebody can do who's
Excuse me.
maybe on the fence about whether or not to blog or not,
Yeah.
I would say do a values exercise. And what I mean by that is,
Okay.
Figure out exactly what it is that is valuable to you.
Okay.
For me, it's love, it's justice, and by justice, what I mean is I want you to have the same exact access to the knowledge that I have access to, the same sort of resources that I have access to. I want you to have that kind of access to everything that I have access to, so that the playing field's level, right?
Right.
I want you to win with me.
Right.
And so
that's why we advocate for a free and open internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want any limitations on it. I don't want me to rise while you stay down wherever it is, whatever. I want us both to rise together.
Yeah.
And so those are my two strongest values. Well, that makes it very clear to me when I blog, when I coach, when I consult, when I speak, whether or not when I'm given opportunities to do something, whether it's coach someone or provide consultation to an organization or speak for a group, makes it very clear to me whether or not I should say, yes, I'm on board, let me support you, let me help, or whether or not I should say no. And the same thing applies to blogging. There's a lot of things I could blog about, but I won't because they're not aligned with my values.
Right. So, can you give me an example?
Well, I could blog about social media because I know a lot about it now.
Right.
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not aligned with my values and certainly not aligned with the strategy for my business.
Right.
And so I opt out of that. I mean, I've produced a few pieces of content, and they were very successful pieces.
Right.
But I can't go after the success that those pieces got me because that's not taking me where I want to go.
Okay. We can talk a little bit more here about social media in a second. But first, I want to tackle the topic of procrastination.
Okay.
Procrastination can be a big obstacle for a lot of bloggers. So how does someone overcome procrastination? You keep putting it off. You keep...
With respect to writing specifically?
Yeah, or even I'll start that blog next week or next year, and they just keep putting it off, but they've had this dream to be a blogger for years.
Right.
Or weeks or months, but yet they just keep putting it off.
Right.
What would you say to that person?
Well, the thing that helped me get past it was my insecurity about writing. I passed my 12th grade English with a D- on purpose. I hated English. And so to sit down and write something and worry about whether or not it was grammatically correct and punctuated properly and all that good stuff was an insecurity that I had. It was a fear. And what I found out was that people don't care. If I just write the way I talk, the way I think, the way I am, people don't mind. And so the thing that helped me really get past the procrastination thing, besides finding my passion, right? I mean, when you're passionate about something, procrastination is a very small barrier or obstacle. But I think the thing that helped me with respect to blogging, and by blogging I mean writing, producing content, was an article that I read by Brian Clark, how to be a better writer. You write and then you write and then you write some more. And I don't remember the exact thing. It's like 60 words or something. Write and how do you become a good writer? You write and you write and you write some more, and then when you're done writing, you write some more.
Right.
And you just keep writing and writing and writing until you figure out how to write. And that's what I did. I just bore down and I wrote. And so now, how do you make a new habit? A lot of people think that you make a new habit by setting some outrageous goal and then going after it. And that's the reason why New Year's resolutions don't work, right? Every year we say we want to lose 20 pounds.
Right.
And we get started strong, and then 2 weeks later we're right back to doing what we were doing before we made the resolution. And that's the human condition. But the way that you develop a new habit is you start small. One bite. If I never flossed my teeth in my life and the dentist told me I needed to floss, if he told me I needed to floss all of my teeth every single day, I'd probably have a hard time developing that habit. But if you said just floss one, just floss one tooth. The act of flossing one tooth causes me to think, well, damn, if I can floss one, I can floss two, right? And if I can floss two, I can floss three. And the next thing you know, I'm flossing all of them. And you just keep repeating that every single day. So with writing, with blogging, just do a little bit every single day. That's like with my professionals, one of the things that I do with every single professional that I do business with is I say, look, before we ever get started, let's talk about this, because this is going to be a requirement. Every single day, you got to make 3 calls. You got to call 3 people. I don't care what you're doing. The sky can be falling. You can be at a conference somewhere. Every single day, you got to make 3 calls. If you're not willing to do that, then I'm not going to take you on as a client. And the reason for that is because it's the drip, 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 drip that produces phenomenal results, not the champion effort all at once.
Right.
Right? And so with procrastination, the key is start small. Floss 1 tooth and drip or floss 1 tooth every single day. Write 250 words every single day.
Yeah.
And pretty soon you'll get to where you can write 250 words every single day.
Absolutely.
With no effort. So that's how you deal with procrastination.
Absolutely. Okay, well, don't procrastinate. Let's move on to the next question here.
Right on.
So you have, I've noticed in many of your online posts, you talk about the gap between reading about something or studying something and then actually doing something. There's people out there that maybe they're reading Build Your Own Blog, all of the content, how to build a blog and all the tips and tricks on becoming a good blogger, but yet they're not putting what they're reading or what they're learning into action or into practice. Why is there a disconnect for so many people? Because I've been there, I wonder sometimes if it's the safety and security of just reading, but not actually, stepping out. You think you're getting somewhere by studying, but, how does a person get beyond the study phase and actually,
take action?
Take action, yeah. How does a blogger do that?
It's tough. I mean, the allure of knowledge is kind of intoxicating. It feels good to learn. And it could become very enticing, almost like a comfort zone. And so you get to where you're learning, and never doing anything with what you've learned. And, the truth is, 1,000 thoughts won't get you there unless it includes 1,000 steps. So back to what I said earlier, you've got to take that whatever that next thing is, take that step. And so that's the way I like to look at everything that I do. This elephant that I'm building seems unbuildable when I look at it as a complete picture. Right. It's like if I was trying to build a skyscraper downtown, and I was looking at the whole thing, I wouldn't know where to start.
Right.
But if I reverse engineer it from the top all the way down to the bottom and said, okay, what's the next thing I need to do?
Right.
What piece can I put into that skyscraper now, and then take that action? And so with blogging, that's the way you got to look at it. You got to say, okay, what's next? Whether it's right or wrong, just take that action. Doesn't matter what it is, just do it.
Is it a fear of failure, perhaps?
It's probably a fear of failure, a fear of success. Your own insecurities. It might be unanswered questions you have rolling around in your head. When I first started blogging, I didn't know what I wanted to blog about. I really didn't. I just knew that I needed to do it. And so I just did it.
Interesting.
And it sucked. It did.
You mean like your posts? Or?
Yeah, what I wrote sucked. I would send it out and ask people for feedback, and they'd say, I got a lot of negative criticism in the beginning. In fact, I finally caught the attention of Chris Brogan. And if anybody's been online for very long, they know who Chris Brogan is.
Yeah.
And so I started following him via an email newsletter. And so I hit him back up and said, what do you think of this? And he, so his way of saying, your stuff stinks, I'm like, okay, thank you, Chris. And I go back to writing,
Right.
Eventually, after getting my eye punched out, getting black-eyed a number of times, I finally got to where I could hold my own. Yeah. And there was a key turning point. I was hoping Damien was going to be here. Damien said to comment one of my posts, he said, Les is becoming one of my favorite writers, one of my favorite bloggers online.
Yep.
That was the encouragement that I needed to just, all right.
Yeah, I remember that. Actually.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yep.
Believe it or not, I had probably written 500 blog posts before that moment.
Yeah.
So I paid my dues.
Yeah. But you wouldn't have got to that point if you hadn't done the previous 500 blog posts.
No, I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
How long did you say it took you to get to 500 blog posts?
I don't know. There was a while there, or a period there, where I wrote every single day.
Yeah.
So I committed to write 650 words every day.
Yeah.
And it was hard, man. Sometimes I'd wake up at 3:30 and it would be noon before I had 650 words.
Wow. Okay.
That tells you anything. That was
Sure.
my level of commitment to it. Now,
Yeah.
not everybody can do that,
Right.
but they can
right.
dang sure commit to an hour,
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Whatever you can commit to, just commit to it.
Yeah, and I know Damien and Brian Clark, and well, I think Brian Clark would agree with this. It's more about quality than quantity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to go through the quality to get to the quantity.
yeah,
Or at
absolutely.
least I did.
Yes.
I had to write a lot, bleed onto the keyboard a lot
Yes,
before I
yes.
finally started producing good content.
Right. That's a good point because the beginning blogger, maybe they need to focus on quantity,
Yeah, I would agree.
and then the quality will eventually happen.
I think so. And, the good news is that whatever you produce today, a week from now, will be, if you're producing regularly,
Yeah.
will be so far down in your blog, you'll forget about it and everybody else will
Everyone
too.
else will too. Exactly. So Les, why don't you can you take us through your writing process from the blank screen to publish?
I'm probably not a good example for that because I've developed a habit of correcting as I go,
Okay.
and I know that's not the right way.
You mean publishing and then going back and correcting?
Looking at writing a paragraph and then going and then rewriting the paragraph
Oh, instead of just writing
instead
straight
of just
through.
instead of just stream of thought,
Uh-huh.
capture it all and then come back and I'm like, okay, I got to get this first paragraph, and then I got to segue into the next paragraph or transition, and so I'm probably not the best example for that. But my typical style is and I steal like everybody does. I'll go out. I'll have an idea what I want to do. Maybe a title in my
Okay.
mind, and I'm thinking, okay, this would be good. This would speak to myself. This would speak to my audience.
Yeah.
And then I'll go out and do maybe a Google search, or I'll pull some of my books off the shelf and I'll open them up and start doing some research and stimulate my thinking, get my juices flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go, okay, I'm ready to write. And then I'll sit down and I'll start bleeding onto the keyboards.
Right.
And then, after I bled enough, then I'll go back and format it and hit publish. But oddly enough, the most successful posts I've written, the ones that have gotten the most comments and the most shares, and
Yeah.
are the ones that I've written in like 30 minutes, and
Wow.
it just flowed. It was like,
Yeah. You get that. Yeah, I hear that a lot.
yeah.
There's something about that passion, when you got an idea, when you just let it out,
Yeah.
Put it into action, move your fingers on that keyboard.
I'm doing so many other things besides writing
Yeah.
that doesn't happen to me nearly as often as I wished it did.
Yeah.
But when it does, it's magical, man. It's
Mhm. Isn't it great to be able to work on an airplane or
it's
at a
phenomenal.
restaurant?
Well, that's the greatest thing. See, my business was regional. It was brick and mortar, and so my business was constrained.
Yeah.
And when I made the decision to go online and start blogging and doing all these other things to find business, it literally tore down the brick walls and pushed the hems of my garment or my borders out around the globe. And now I'm doing business all over the world. And the reason I'm here in St. Louis is because of blogging.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came.
Me too, man.
This is great.
Yeah.
So now that your post is ready to be shared,
Uh-huh.
okay, you've written it. How do you go about promoting your post?
Well, I have a strong presence on all the social media sites: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Plus, Pinterest,
Yeah. Pinterest, huh?
even Pinterest. Yeah. And so, most of my target audience is on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I produce a lot of content directly to LinkedIn.
Okay.
I also have a strong audience on Google Plus, although not nearly as, and I mean targeted
Right.
on Google Plus as I do on LinkedIn, because the professionals, I guess, find it difficult to do social media for various reasons.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Or they outsource it.
yeah, they outsource it, so they're not spending a lot of time there. But LinkedIn, I can use that tool to promote content, to reach the kind of people that I need to reach. And so between LinkedIn and Google Plus, those are my two primaries.
And what do you like about LinkedIn? Can you be a little more specific?
Well, I love the fact that I can publish my own blog right within LinkedIn under my profile.
Yes,
so
that is true.
I can do a long form post on my blog, and then I can do a shorter form post in LinkedIn and direct people to the longer form and to other content via that post.
Okay.
And so when I write a post, I'm always thinking about how can I link this to something else that I produced, some more content, so that hopefully I get a click through to that other content, which hooks somebody, and then I get an opportunity to come do a speaking gig in St. Louis or Orlando or
there you go.
Kansas City.
So Les, how has your blog helped your personal coaching business?
Well, I think the biggest help is that it's really helped me understand myself. So, prior to blogging, I had a pretty good idea who I was, but the act of writing really galvanized my thoughts concerning who I am, what I'm all about, why I'm here, what it is I want to contribute. And because all of that, whatever you want to call it, that ambiguity, maybe, is gone, and I'm resolute, it just makes it beautiful, brother.
Yeah, I think one thing you're talking about when you talk about ambiguity to resolution is finding your writing voice. Do you agree with that?
I think so, yeah, because my goal has always been with writing to try and find to try and align my writing voice with my normal voice. So the way I'm talking to you right now, my writing voice sounds exactly the same. That's hard.
Yeah.
Or at least it has been for me. And I get the feeling that when you read something from Damien or Brian Clark or Sonia or one of those people, that it's almost like they're talking to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Brian Clark is one of the best at that.
Yeah.
When I read one of Brian Clark's articles, it's like I hear his voice.
I do too, and I do with Damien, and I do with Sonia. I mean, and Brian and his team produced Authority, and then Brian's doing these podcasts.
Yeah.
Well, when you read what he's written and you listen to him on the podcast, it's like
exactly. Yeah.
There's no difference.
Right. Yep.
And so but it's been tough for me. But of course, Brian's probably written 1 million words more than I have, maybe more than that. I don't know.
500 million. I don't know.
A bunch. Yeah. Yeah.
So Les, can you share with us a humorous or an inspiring story, somehow related to your blog? Maybe your blog changed somebody's life. They emailed you, or some funny story behind the scenes with your blog. Any stories?
I don't have anything funny, I don't think, that comes to mind, but I hear from people all the time who say, man, that post helped me get through the day. That post was right on time. It was exactly what I needed to hear.
Yeah.
And when that happens, of course, it's like ding. It's like, man, yeah, I'm glad I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I think the thing for me that probably makes blogging special is really what it's done for me. And I think that's the case for anybody who blogs.
Yeah.
Regularly. It really does something for the person who's doing the blogging.
It does.
Whether it does anything for anybody else or not, shouldn't matter. You should be doing it for yourself.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think if you do it for yourself with conviction, it'll end up doing great things for other people as well.
Yeah. I get a lot of emails from people that want to start a blog to help other people. They have a relative or even themselves, they've gone through some kind of a disease or illness or some sort of a situation, and they want to tell people how they got through it, and how they overcame that obstacle. So what you're saying is you can have both. I mean, you can blog for yourself and for other people. It's almost like blogging for yourself
is blogging for other people.
is blogging for other people. Yeah.
I think so.
And it's just that good feeling you get, like when you do something nice for somebody.
Here's a good
you
metaphor
can get that
for
same
you.
thing.
There's an airplane flying by right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so if the cabin lost pressure, what would you do?
Yes. You want to put the mask on yourself first.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that you can then help somebody else. Well,
right.
I'm a coach. I'm a consultant. I help people put their lives together in more effective ways so that they can experience more success and higher quality of life. That's what I do every single day. Well, in order for me to be able to do that, I have to have that myself. I have to have something to give. And so blogging has helped me acquire that in big doses so that I can give it to people every single day.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So, Les, as far as your blog goes, where do you see your blogging heading in the future?
Well, it's going to stay at lesdossey.com. I promise you that. I'm just going to, I'm going to pare back the frequency with which I post because I have other things that, as a result of blogging, I'm doing now that are producing a higher ROI.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to add a regular, consistent podcast to the mix and a regular, consistent video, or what do they call it, vlog?
Yeah, vlog.
So I'll have video, I'll have audio, and I'll have written content.
Okay.
I would expect, though, that probably in a year or so, I'll probably move into some type of membership site where I produce content in the form of a package of some kind and deliver that to my clients.
Yeah.
But that's long term.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Well, Les, thank you so much for dropping by here, St. Louis, and talking to me and sharing with the Build Your Own Blog audience your experience as a blogger.
Right on.
And I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. See you later.